Transmission begin. I am Alfarius. It has been quite some time since my last video. I'm having great difficulty setting up my webcam in the Hydra Factory. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Life happens. I'm working a lot. In any event, let's go over my month in review, not my week in review, because it has been quite some time. So, Astronomi-con has come and gone. Out of the 64 players, my apologies, 61 players that showed up. No, it was 64. There was 32 tables. I love math. Out of the 64 players that showed up, I placed 20th overall. So it's a little bit worse than last year, but that's quite all right. I had 6 amazing games. I played against people that I haven't played against before, aside from one game that I played against an individual that I played a couple of years ago. But the remaining 5 players I have never played against, which was absolutely awesome. It was really cool to see. I ended up playing against a couple of Stratford boys who are friends of Scary, and they told me some cool little inside things that are definitely going to be applied. Anyways, first round for me, I played against Mark Ezekiel, who was a Stratford boy and his Necrons. I was one model away from being tabled. He put up an amazing fight. It was a King of the Hill sort of table quarters game, and the center area was a table quarter as well. My second game was against a Dark Angels player, and I believe he was a Stratford boy as well. Robert Dole. I forgive my names. I only remember the awesome fun games that I had, and it was a fight or flight game. And unfortunately, Rob's dice rolling was absolutely atrocious. And I ended up winning the game, I think he had the right idea. It's just that his dice failed him utterly. My third game was against Dave Rule, who he was the individual that I've played against before, and he's always a blast. He's there to have fun. His army list was a couple of tactical squads, a Storm Raven, a Contemptor class Dreadnought, and he had like this Death Watch theme. It was really cool, but the whole mission objective was to get into your opponent's deployment zones. So really, we didn't do a lot of fighting against each other. I did manage to get the upper hand with him, and I obliterated his Contemptor class Dreadnought, and his rebuttal was to blow up one of my Predators. So it wasn't a very good point trade-off for him, and I squeaked out a victory on that. I did win my second game as well. So I went out of day 1, and I lost my first game, won my next 2 games, and walked into day 2, and I felt pretty good about myself. My painting score came back, and I didn't do as well as I had anticipated. The judge that did my painting scores, he really, really loved the freehand, but he felt that the remaining of the models, the blue, wasn't done up to the same standards as the scales, which I have to agree with him. And he pointed out, because I asked for an opinion as to why I didn't score as well as I thought I was going to, and he pointed out there were certain areas that could have been highlighted that didn't get highlighted. He didn't fully understand Zenith highlighting, but it wasn't as though it was, oh, no, that's not what we do here. So he just said these are areas that we would have liked to have seen highlighted. My lack of conversions as well did dampen or did hamper my score. I think I only scored 4 points out of a possible 10 for conversions, because I didn't really have a lot of conversions. I converted up my Biker Lord and my Stern Guard, and that was really it. Everything else was pretty stock. So my bases added to it. I ended up scoring a total of 26 out of 40 points, which is pretty good. I'm not upset about that, but my brushwork only landed me 13 out of 20, and I thought it was going to be more like 15 or 16 out of 20. So those 3 points could have made a fairly big difference in my confidence on point scores. Anyways, my fourth game, I'm trying to remember who I played against. It was Tau, my apologies. And it was a really wonky game. It was a third-party Death Watch. Basically, these 2 squads of Death Watch dropped down. And in the first turn, my Stern Guard managed to take my opponent's Aegis defense line and the quad gun, and he had a unit come on via reserves walking, and I shot at him with the quad gun, and they ran off the board, and it had Dark Strider, I think is his name, in it, and my opponent kind of almost cried at that point. So I ended up winning that game. barely, barely won that game. My fifth game was against Devin Quinlan, who is a fellow Eternal Warrior. He lives in Petawawa now, and I got to feel the full force of the Wraith Knight. And I have said it in the past, and here it is, me eating my words. Wraith Knights are way better than I had initially anticipated. They're hard. They're tough. I didn't realize they were Initiative 5. I didn't realize that they were jump monstrous creatures. Wow. Yes, they're hefty in point values, but I mean, you pay that for a Land Raider, and I think this thing has more survivability than a Land Raider. If it wasn't for my Stern Guard, I probably would have done 0 damage to it. My Stern Guard managed to bring it down to 1 wound, but his Wraith Knight just obliterated me. It was good to see. I was really happy to be wrong about that. My 6th game was against Joey, and I can't remember his last name. He was a Chaos/Demons player. It was a great game. We had a lot of fun. He ran a Bloodthirster, and his Bloodthirster just walked through my army. He played it very well. He sent Flesh Hounds after my tanks, blew my tanks up, and then the Bloodthirster came in and just mopped everything up. His Helldrake came on, I think, turn 4 something, and really didn't have anything to fight against. So it was a good game. I ended up losing that game, but I did tie against Devin, my apologies. So my overall record was 3 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. And I accumulated, I don't remember what my battle points were, but it was okay. It was average, but I had a lot of fun. I scored perfect on my sportsmanship, everything like that. And most importantly to me is that in the players, all the players get to vote on which armies they like the best, which ones they think are the best presentation, which single model was the best. And I placed 4th overall for army. I was up there with my Jonathan Tongue, an individual who I haven't seen before, Jonathan Ho, whose Tau army, honestly, my jaw's still, a month later, my jaw's still on the ground on how beautifully painted this army was. There was a Tyranid player who ended up winning Best Painted Army because Jonathan Tongue won Best Presentation and Jonathan Ho won the Best Overall. And there was, I think, a 1-point difference between myself and him for votes. So I was very happy about that. His army, don't get me wrong, was beautiful, and it was the fact that it was Tyranids, so there were so many of them, and to put that much time and effort into painting Tyranids, my hat is off to him, and kudos on the award. But I did have a lot of fun. So moving on, Scary and we have signed up for Dork Wars, which doubles tournament September 7th. I am bringing my Eldar. He will be bringing his Dark Eldar. I am currently working on a Wraith Knight. And I'm painting them up. And I've got some really, really cool conversion ideas that I'm going to do for the rest of the army. I probably won't tell you what they are. I'll show you what they are. But that's pretty much what's going on. I'm going to take a little walk here, so you guys are going to come with me, I think, as I walk down my stairs. I turn on my lights, make sure I don't fall. Dun, 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 dun. This is an exclusive, as you get to see me walking into the Hydra Factory. Well, that's kind of really dark, isn't it? I almost walked into a couch. I got my light on, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but there he is. That's what I'm working on right now. That's my Wraith Knight. You can see the Ienden colors. Yes, the yellow. In any event, I guess I'm in my Hydra Factory now. What do you know? That wasn't so hard. Anyways, that's pretty much what's going on in the Hydra Factory. I'm still going to continue signing off as usual, so I am Alfarius. Transmission end.